This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 30 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, exclusive coverage of the world of dressage. We would like to thank our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products. They can be found at kppusa.com. This is Chris Stafford in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'm Lisa Wilcox. You're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, hi, Lisa. How are you this week?
Great. Chris, it was great seeing you last weekend.
I know. Wasn't that fun? Lisa and I were down at the in Wellington for the Succeed USCT holiday fundraiser. And what a lot of fun that was, Lisa. And you took part in that, of course. If it wasn't for you, I'm sure that little pony wouldn't have fetched so much money as it did at auction, on the live auction we had. That Marty.
Well, I think that pony was having more fun with me than I with it. But it took me for a run. Anyway, I was pleased to see that we had some people as interested as they were, and I think she was a dear, the little Silver Bell. She'll make a fantastic Christmas present. But,
she absolutely will, yes. But what a fun evening that was. We were surrounded by riders from all the disciplines who were there to support the cause. And of course, as I said, Lisa, you were there having fun too. And, it really was a great night. And, of course, a great cause, raising money for the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation, which it did very successfully.
Very well. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having that again next year. I think you guys did a great job. And as you could see, people were very, very interested and very excited about what went on.
Absolutely. And, of course, this will be shown on equestrianlife.com in a few weeks, and also will be on HR Television, HR TV in February. So look out for that production. So we'll be able to watch it all over again. Was there any particular performances that stood out for you that you really enjoyed, Lisa, when you were there that evening?
Well, a couple. I sure enjoyed the Shetland pony rounds.
Oh, yes.
That was fabulous. And then, of course, Templeton.
Oh, Templeton Thompson.
What a beautiful singer. She
is
fabulous. And, of course, Monty Roberts. Oh, my goodness. I could just go on and on. Stephen Peters.
Yes.
I just was thrilled to listen to them all.
Yeah, it really was a great night's entertainment and so much fun. I was, honored to be a part of that, and I emceed the event and looking forward to coming around again next year and doing it. And there'll be new acts. I think the word will soon get out, Lisa, of what a fun night that was.
Yes, that we have fun in dressage.
That's right.
We're exciting people.
That's right. You don't take yourself seriously all the time.
Not boring. Yes.
Well, of course, I also, while I was there, got the opportunity to meet our guest this evening, Tami Hoag, the obviously famed author and Grand Prix dressage rider. She was there to enjoy both evenings, the Friday and the Saturday evening, and it was nice to be able to meet her. We're going to talk to her a little bit later on in the show here, and we have some interesting topics to discuss too later on. Lisa, we're going to be discussing riding off the track. I think that's an important area of discussion, and also your training.
Quarter line.
There you go. Get on the quarter line, and also your tip of the week a little bit later on in the show. But before we get into that, we have a few items of news this week. Our main news from the U.S. is that American judge Linda Zhang has been appointed the president of the jury for the World Equestrian Games that will take place, of course, in Lexington, Kentucky next year. And she's going to be joined by Mary Seyfried of Australia, Cara Whittam from Canada, Stephen Clark from Great Britain, Eva Eisenhardt from Germany, and Maribel Alonso from Mexico, as well as Guylain Forage of the Netherlands. They make up the full panel of judges. And the reason why Linda's been brought in as president is because Anne Gribbons accepted the position recently offered from the USEF to become the dressage technical advisor, and clearly there was a conflict of interest there, and so they had to find another president for the WEG jury, and so we have a replacement there, and because Anne Gribbons, of course, is also a member of the newly appointed FEI Dressage Committee.
Correct.
And news from across the pond is that Isabel Worth, who just had a little boy a few weeks ago, she took some time off, and she's actually coming back into the show ring. She's going to make her return at the CDIW in Amsterdam next month, and so that will be interesting to see her get back in the saddle, Lisa, and warm up and in time to...
Looking forward to it. Very
Yep.
much looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and she's going to be facing, the likes of Edward Gaal and Adeline Cornelissen and Ankie van Grunsven. Of course, those three Dutch riders are really stealing the show right now, so it'll be interesting to watch as Isabel comes back into the arena.
And knowing Isabel, she'll come calm, cool, and collected. Do a brilliant job.
Definitely collected.
Yes, exactly.
Well, news from Sweden, of Karen Oldfield's stallion Ling. He's going to be staying there for another season at the Swedish stud flying, and they want to keep him on a little bit longer. And with the new EU classified insemination station, flying is excellent export opportunities to other European countries, and so he's producing shipments to New Zealand and Australia by means of frozen semen, so they're going to make use of him up there for a good bit longer. So Karen, of course, based here in the States, I wonder if she gets over to see him much if he's based in Sweden.
I think she does do quite a bit of traveling. I'm sure she's up there regularly, and she's spending quite a bit of time in Holland.
Right.
Or was, and so I'm sure she is very involved with Ling.
We're talking about the Dutch riders and Ed Gaal, who, of course, this week is competing at the CSIW in Olympia in London, and I understand he won the Grand Prix already, and obviously going for the full set, no doubt. But he has just been named by Lanihipeek as the 2009 Rider of the Year. He's had such an amazing year, no surprise there, but that he would eventually. But it was a little bit in favour of Stefan Peters, who's had a wonderful 12 months with Ravel. He was a little bit the favourite until the middle of the summer, and then, of course, when we got to the European Championships, Ed Gaal and Totilas stole the show. And so he took over the limelight, really, and they've named him the 2009 Rider of the Year.
Well, Stefan Peters is a gentleman and a scholar, so I bet he's just buckling down for the World Equestrian.
Absolutely, and what a year he's going
to let Edward have the book.
There you go. There you go. And of course,
the book.
He was part of the celebrations at the Succeed USET and Wellington Classical Dressage fundraiser this last week. He was of course giving a little clinic to a couple of riders down there as part of that performance, and great to see him. Just to remind everybody of what Stefan has done this year, he was the first U.S. citizen in 24 years of the outdoor championships to win the World Cup outright, but also the first American since 1960 to claim the coveted Aachen Championship. So while Ed Gaal has stolen the show as far as the Lanihipeek is concerned, we should not forget the achievements that Stefan has had this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. And he's always a joy. He really is. I had a great time seeing him this last weekend, and I think
always a joy to be around. Well, we have some sad news to report. Those of you who follow international dressage will remember Richard Davidson's faithful partner, Hiscox Ascari. Unfortunately, he suffered a severe colic attack recently, and although he was operated on, he could not be saved. And sadly, that is the end of a wonderful partnership. He was 22 years old, and in 1987 born Dutch warm-blood gelding by Avignon out of Wasuska. And he was a partner there with Richard on a number of Grand Prix between 1995 and 2001, and trained by Bert Rutten since he was 3 years old, and by Richard's wife Gillian, who trained it actually up to Grand Prix level when Richard took over from 95 to 2001.
Quite a relationship if you think about it, from 3 years old to 22 years old.
Isn't it? That's amazing. Member. Definitely is, and absolutely. So condolences there to Richard, a great horseman, and I know he's competing at the Olympia show in England this week too, so we wish him well. Well, that's about the news for this week. Actually,
Chris, I wanted to add a little surpriser in there. Have you seen that Stephen Clark has a new book out?
Oh, no.
Dream 10?
No, I haven't. You have to tell us about that.
Something. I have just ordered 30. Only because this is so much fun. You talk about what he has done is it's a beautiful photo album. And he has taken for horses that have received 10s for particular movements.
Oh,
and
really?
So you have Kira Kirkland and or Jan Brink. He's got the chapter for trot half passes because he apparently has had a 10 in a trot half pass in his career. And then you have Satchmo for collected trot, which he has received a 10 for collected trot. And Relevant has his own little chapter for Piaffe.
Oh, does he?
The beautiful thing is in here, Matinee. You remember Andreas Hagelstrand, right?
Of course.
And his is Passage. He got the chapter Passage. And it's beautiful because he does it. He talks about the collected trot, and then the next is about the rider. There's a couple of pages dedicated to the rider, and then there are a couple pages dedicated to the trainer of the rider. And then you have 2 pages dedicated to the horse. So it really is fascinating to get to know the team behind the scenes. And it's beautiful. And it's called Dressage Dreams 10 by Stephen Clark.
By Stephen Clark. Well, I didn't know Stephen did that. I didn't think that he would have any spare time to do a book. So good for him.
Well, I tell you, he has obviously a company that was working to put this together for him. So in his spare time, I'm sure he was doing a lot of telephoning.
Yes.
And but I just received it, and that's why I'm so excited about it. I got it in the mail yesterday, and I was just looking through the pictures, and they're brilliant. You get to see George and Monica Tedesco.
Oh.
Good old George. Beautiful pictures of George. And it's a beautiful, beautiful photo album.
Oh, you're a lucky girl. Got an early Christmas present, huh?
Yes. So I just wanted to bring you in on that one.
Well, thank you. And, we'll look into that and put a link on our website to that, Lisa. Thanks so much for telling me about that. And I'll have to get a copy myself now, won't I? All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. And before we get to our guest this evening, we're going to take a short break here for an ad spot from Horse Radio Network. So don't go away.
Well, we're coming into the new year, and one of those resolutions that you should make in the new year is to find the best supplements for your horse. And Kentucky Performance Products can help you do that. Not every horse needs a supplement, and selecting the right supplement for your dressage horse can be a science. Kentucky Performance Products simplifies that search. And each product is backed by sound research and a money-back satisfaction guarantee. And one of those great products is Endure Extra. It's a high-fat, low-carb energy source horse recommended by veterinarians and leading horsemen. It maintains optimal energy levels in your hard-working dressage horses and increases weight gain in poor doers. More than just a fat supplement, Endure Extra also provides other benefits, such as much-needed natural vitamin E and gut conditioners. Natural vitamin E is readily absorbed, it protects muscles, and increases immunity levels. Endure Extra's gut conditioners stimulate the appetite and maintain a healthy digestive tract. The cool calories produced by Endure Extra's proprietary blends of fats keeps horses calm and focused as they work. Best of all, you can feed as little as 8 ounces per day. Check out all the great products at Kentucky Performance Products. That's KPPUSA.com. That's Kentucky Performance Products at KPPUSA.com.
All right. Well, good to hear from them. And when our guest this evening, Lisa, is someone that both you and I know. Of course, you being down in Florida, someone who based herself in Florida for part of the year and the rest of the year in California. And Tami Hoag is someone who's known to the dressage world because she is, of course, a Grand Prix dressage rider. But she's also very famous for being a best-selling author and something like 30 titles to her credit, Lisa, which is a pretty amazing record, isn't it?
No question. No, I have such a respect for someone that can dedicate themselves, as she has, for these 31 books. And as you see, she has New York Times bestsellers.
Yes.
And then dedicate herself and do the job she's doing in the Grand Prix ring. That's intense.
Yes. It is intense, and she's had a very, very interesting life, because before she started writing her first novel, she'd had different jobs, including a stint as a photographer's assistant, training show horses, working at the circulation desk at a newspaper, and even selling designer bathroom accessories. So she's had a really colourful life, and I'm sure drawing on all those life experiences to become the successful author that she is, and a very successful Grand Prix rider. So I'm looking forward to having her join us. Let's hear what Tami has to say. Well, Tami, thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Dressage Radio Show.
I'm glad to be here.
But your first time on the show, of course, and you're well known already in the dressage world. And I know people like Lisa here keep an eye on you, because they're always looking over their shoulder, right, Lisa?
Absolutely. Always interested to see what's going on, what type of books are coming out, what new horses are on the horizon.
Yeah.
And you've got some exciting ones this season?
I do. I've got, I have both a new book and a horse that's not new, but will be new to the show ring. I bought him actually 2 years ago, and he promptly injured himself. And so he's back, and so we're finally going to make it into the show ring, and I'm really excited about that.
Well, let's just back up a little bit, Tami, for the sake of our listeners, and tell us a little bit about how you got into dressage, first of all, before we talk about the books. And as you mentioned, you have a new book being released just this week.
Right.
But what got you into the sport of dressage?
Well, it's kind of a strange little story, because I grew up in southern Minnesota, and there is very, very little dressage in southern Minnesota. You know, everybody rides Western, and you know, there's even very little hunter and jumper that goes on in the area where I grew up. So I grew up riding Western, and I had done everything I wanted to do with that. I had, you know, I'd ridden timed events, I'd ridden judged events, I had won everything I wanted to win, and I was bored. And I thought, well, what's the thing that I haven't tried? And I had done a little bit of jumping, but the thing that I really hadn't tried was dressage, and I thought that looks really interesting and challenging. And so I had to be a detective and look for somebody who could teach me, which was no small feat there. You know, it was really, you know, I talked to many, many people before I finally got a name, and it happened to be Marianne Ludwig, who's a pretty well-known judge. So I really got lucky with that, and you know, she got me started, and I was just instantly hooked.
Well, when you say instantly hooked, it's all about having the right horse and the right trainer, and it's the whole combination, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
So what was your horse?
Actually, I had no horse at the time. I was riding one of hers, and he was extremely difficult. And so he was actually not much of a help to me, because he was very, very challenging. But I liked the challenge, and I liked the concepts of dressage. I loved the theory and the fact that it's so rooted in tradition, and that it's changed really very little as far as the really basic theory of training a horse. There's no real fashion involved, and having ridden in the Western world, it was like, 1 year it was popular to ride your young horses in a snaffle, and the next year it was popular to ride your young horses with a bosal, and it was just a lot of fashion that wasn't really grounded in anything. And with dressage, it's so well grounded in the traditions of classical training.
Yeah, well, it really is, and that's something that you grew up similarly, didn't you, Lisa, in the Midwest, and not in a dressage environment, but in the Western world, and you made the jump too, so you can identify with Tami.
Certainly, absolutely. We started in basically my father's Western saddles, and then bareback, and I was intrigued with my friends being able to go to Pony Club and like those saddles and everything else. And so it was first kind of getting over into that. Just seemed, I don't know, more elite. And we weren't, of course, out there really showing. We did a little 4-H and everything, in a very small fashion as far as that Western riding was concerned, and more or less at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so Tami, did you have any idols at the time of dressage people out there that you aspired to?
Well, at the time, I really did not know anyone in the sport. I was that new to it. I had not been exposed to it. I had not been to a show. It was really quite a mystery to me.
Well, it just goes to show you how disciplines are so in their own little world.
Yeah.
And they just don't cross over at all.
Absolutely.
So when you got going, did that mean you had to buy your first horse? You had to find a horse? Did your trainer help you with that? How did that go, Tami?
I did have to find a horse, and at the time I had no money to buy a decent horse. So the horse was either going to be lame or crazy, and I opted for crazy.
It was a thoroughbred, wasn't it?
I
Don't tell me. Thoroughbred from the racetrack. We all know that one.
No, he was
and
not.
It's a deal.
He was not from this is funny though. He was when Secretariat first went to stud. The first thing that they do is they breed to a test mare to make sure that the stallion is fertile before they do the syndicate. And this horse was the product of that breeding.
Oh,
So
really?
Isn't it crazy? And so he was actually technically an Appaloosa, although he had no coloration. But the mare that they bred him to as the test mare was an Appaloosa.
How interesting.
Isn't that weird? And of course, what a romantic story. So that appealed to me, far too much, and enough that I would overlook the fact that this horse was frightened of every living and breathing and growing thing,
So we're talking combination of thoroughbred and Appaloosa.
Yeah.
Very fast spots, but this one had no spots.
He had no spots. No, he was a plain bay. And you could get him to focus on his job for about 30 seconds, just long enough to get a nice feeling, and then something would frighten him, and he'd bolt and run.
Oh, gosh. Well, you was challenged then. So, what made you persevere, and when did you find the horse that you knew was the right dressage horse for you, Tami?
I just really loved the sport, and so I hung in there with very poor horses for a while, and then there were about 5 years in there where I had to just stop everything and work, in order to really build my career and get to a place where I could, have a life again, and in that time I I moved to Virginia, right into the heart of horse country. And it was in Virginia that I met Betsy Steiner, who I train with still to this day. And so Betsy ended up helping me actually find my first real dressage horse.
And what period was that? How many years ago did you?
That was 98 or 99. It was about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. So tell us what's brought you through the levels now. How many horses you have, and what levels you're competing at now.
One thing, really quick, I have to say, congratulations that you're so dedicated and loyal to your trainer.
Yeah.
Good girl. Good girl. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
You didn't do flavor of the month.
Not at all. No, I am nothing if not loyal.
See, that's the thing, though. That's how you get a very good education, and that's very seldom seen in America. Is what I have seen. That's just been my experience since I've been back.
Yeah,
and
I think that's
through
true.
thick and thin, I want to strangle Ernst. I will ride with him for the rest of my, till my dying.
Yeah.
Just because I so respect him still, but you get to also be like brother and sister almost. So you want to.
Right.
Or he'd like to be my father, I think, but I have one. Knock it off.
Yeah, don't need that. But you go through all these different phases, but
But no, that's fantastic that you guys
your
together
training
so long.
is so consistent, and so instead of sort of helter skelter, which I think a lot of people go through,
Well, and you get very lost. There are a lot of lost dressage riders. They're not sure. Man, they're just when the stress starts to get to them, they're completely lost. There's no foundation. There's no basis, and of course, then these things at the horse shows and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And just because you thought somebody looked as successful over in the other arena with somebody else, that's the point is you're going to find security and confidence in the same thing.
Yeah.
Something you know and understand. And so when the going gets tough, you're set.
Yeah, you've got that good foundation.
You have some building blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a message right there, not to be fickle with your trainer.
Well, and there's going to be tough times. There's no question. There's going to be times where you're like scratching your head and you're trying to get it, but you will get it. Just be patient. Yeah. And I think I just love the fact that you guys have been together so long. So sorry I interrupted, but anyway.
No, I mean it's a very
Back to you, Tami.
Great point.
Yeah, no, you're not interrupting, Lisa. No, I mean this is a great point, and there's a message there to our listeners. How important it is to be loyal to your trainer. If the trainer works for you, then stick with it. So 10 years already, Tami, and during those 10 years, how many horses have you had through your hands, and what level are you riding at now?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm riding Grand Prix and have been riding primarily at the Grand Prix level for, 7 years now. Oh, no, longer than that. We're almost to 2010. I rode my first Grand Prix in 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're an old hand then, Tami?
Yeah, it's now. I mean, that seems a long time. But my first dressage horse, I came out at my first show at fourth level. Which sounds kind of crazy, but I had ridden already for 30 years. So it wasn't like I didn't have a good foundation. I had not ridden in the dressage arena for all those years, but I had ridden. I grew up. I didn't have a job babysitting when I was 13, 14. My father would bring home 2- and 3-year-old colts, and it was my job to break them. So I had plenty of that.
Can you think of that today? Would you do that with your child?
No.
My father was the same way. And I think, man, I don't know. I don't know if I would.
Absolutely. I mean, he would bring home things that, I think of, I wouldn't get on them now. I'm like, are you nuts? Are you kidding me?
But the confidence a father has to put their child on it.
Yeah.
My dad was the same way. Didn't think twice. Get on up there.
Yep,
and then I had a bridle and a little rope around his withers, and I'm like,
hang on.
Let her go. And I'm thinking about that now,
education.
thinking,
Oh, yeah, you'd be turned into
Hallelujah.
child services now, if you did that
Oh,
with your child
somebody
now.
would turn them in.
Absolutely, but
You
look
would
at
have
the
been
education that
growing
we
up in a
got.
foster care.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny looking back on that,
It is funny,
So-
I have to say, too, but we're lucky that way. That was
Yeah.
certainly a different time.
So tell us about the horses you have right now, Tami.
Well, right now I've got, I still have my old Grand Prix mare, Faliki, who will be 23 this year. And she's retired from the show ring, but we don't tell her that.
I see. Uh-huh.
Because she's still the hottest horse in the barn. She will outwork every horse in the barn, with one hoof tied up. She is such a pistol. So she's still the first ride every day, and she still serves a pretty important purpose to me. And, because I can go out on her and I can think, okay, now when I ride Bacchus, I need to work on this or that, and I can work on those issues with her and really have time to concentrate and think about what I want to do and what I want to accomplish and what I need to do to accomplish that. So Faliki is my first ride of the day. And then Bacchus, his actual name is Bacchus Delight. Bacchus is...
And this is the one you have from Michael Klimke, or?
Yes, this was his Grand Prix horse. And
Yes.
he had him since he was like 4 or 5 years old.
I
And
know.
I bought
I
him 2
remember
years
him
ago.
showing him.
Yeah.
I was out there still. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's fun to
absolutely.
see you guys going.
Well, I can't
Full
wait to
steam
get
ahead.
in the show ring. Yeah, we're just, because we had this hiccup in the process with, he actually fractured a splint bone, and then there were complications with that, and now we finally got everything is cleared up, everything is fine. He's absolutely dead sound, and really coming back into form. And now it's getting really exciting because we're building that partnership every day, which is, to me, the very best thing about dressage is that everyday
That's true. Yep.
building of that, the confidence between not only, your confidence in the horse, but the horse's confidence in you. And, that's so exciting to me. So I'm planning, hoping to get back into the show ring in February, and only, waiting that long because I have to go on tour in January for the new book. So...
Well, we're coming to that.
you-
Coming to that, Tami, as you say, you've got these 2 horses, right? That you would keep in work. Where you be based in Florida?
Pardon me?
Are you based in Florida now during this time?
Yeah. For the rest, I came down this year. I came down the beginning of November, and it seems like every year I come a little earlier and I stay a little later.
Uh-huh.
So I'm.
Pretty
here
soon
for
it's
the
going to be
duration.
year-round.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. That goes through my head because I do. Everything here is so state of the art in terms of vet care and farriers and so on. And California is still a little bit the Wild West that way. So.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that you're about to go on tour with your new book, Deeper Than the Dead. Tell us a little bit how you spend your time when you're writing, how much time you allocate for writing, or does it depend on inspiration each day, and when you get out to the barn to clear your head?
Well, when I start a book, I divide my time pretty well, and I ride in the morning, and I'll work afternoons and evenings, and that's how I get going on a book. And then, the thing about being in Florida, though, is that this is where I have a social life. So I get a little distracted, and then I end up going back to California and being just hot on deadline, and then everything kind of has to go by the wayside. And with Deeper Than the Dead, I ended up the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks of working on that book. It was 18 and 20 hours a day at the desk, just being a crazy lunatic person working. And I don't like to do that. I want to pace myself a little better than that, but that's how it worked out this time. And it kind of depends on the story, because they, in as much as I believe in sitting down every day and working, and this is my job, and I have to treat it as a job, and I can't just wait to be moved, stories don't always reveal themselves in the kind of timeline that we would like them to, so sometimes I have to wait a little bit, if I'll get to a point in the story and I'm just literally stuck. Sometimes I need to take a little break and wait for it to speak to me.
Well, I have to mention this past weekend in Wellington, and because Lisa was there and I knew you were there at the Succeed USET fundraising gala, and we were having a great old time there. And also we were joined by the singer-songwriter Templeton Thompson. And, of course, she spends most of her time on the back of a horse if she can, and that's where she finds her escape too. But she also actually sings from the back of a horse, so it's not so easy.
I don't write from the back of a horse. For me, it works.
Very difficult typing.
Yeah, very.
The typing, the laptop just really doesn't want to stay where you need.
We got to rig something up to the front there.
Yeah,
don't mind this big box that I'm setting over your withers.
That would be funny. But, she sings, I've listened to the lyrics of her songs, and she talks about how, we escape with our horses. If everything else is going wrong, whether we have writer's block or, whatever it may be, it is a wonderful escape for us. So do you find that is an opportunity for you just to get into the barn and it clears your head?
Yes, absolutely. For me, the two things balance each other, because each is so all-consuming. When I'm at the desk, when I'm in a book, I'm in a book. I can't think about other things. I can't, nothing else can really intrude on the telling of that story. And when I'm on a horse, and, I think dressage is particularly intense that way, I can't think of something other than what I'm doing every second that I'm on the horse, so it's a total break from the work at the desk, that for that, hour or 2 hours or however long I happen to be at the barn that day, there is nothing else but those horses, and then I come back to the work and I'm refreshed and I'm ready to sit down and concentrate.
Well, it's an exercise in that elusive discipline of staying in the moment, which we all often have a problem with. But Lisa, do you ever have that when you're working horses, and the horses are not maybe going as well? You're not feeling on your best on any given day. Maybe a day that something's just not going according to plan, and you don't feel you're riding at your best. Do you have somewhere you go in your mind or physically to circle back around to get into that right moment?
It's interesting because it's often where I'm exhausted or something. It's been, and you want to get on and be concentrated. And it's something that I learned in Germany, being able to concentrate on that many horses a day and be as potentially as good as you were on your first horse. It's obviously impossible, but that's your goal. And I have found, just as Tami is talking about, she'll get an inspiration and she'll get going. There's always something within that ride that will inspire me to wake up out of that sleepy state, and I'm totally keyed in, and I get into whatever it was motivated me about a correction or something, and I have found I never stay that way for long in the ride. I'm always somehow brought right back into something that just turns my motor right on and gets me busy and gets me right on target with whatever it is I'm working with that horse. And then, comes the next. Let that be the last horse of the day. Mm-hmm. But thank goodness, yes, you feel tired, but there is something, it's the passion deep down to do it well, to do your best, that even though you're tired, that horse can motivate me out of the deepest slumber. If I feel like I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
Am I doing this? I've been doing, and I just recently had Ernst out, and we were getting up at 4:30 in the morning, so I could get all these horses done, and I am so motivated when he comes out to train. and it's exciting for me. But boy, that last day, as you're dragging yourself, and you want to be as sharp as you were on that first horse that day, and it always manages to wake me up and get me back on my motor. But then the minute I sit in my car and drive home, game over.
You're done.
Yeah.
Game over.
It is an endurance
That's
test.
when I snap my fingers and go, Charles. Charles. Damn it. Do we have a Charles on this farm who drives?
It is a test of endurance and discipline, and that's really what's made you successful as an author, isn't it, Tami? Because you've now got over 30 titles to your credit, and that's down to just darned hard work and disciplining yourself to sit at that computer and doing the job that you have to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it is my job, and I mean, it's sometimes hard to reconcile that something that's such a creative process also has to be treated as a business, but it really does. You know, I have a corporation that's depending on me. I am a corporate asset, and that means I have to stick my fanny in the chair and do my job and get it done, you know, when it needs to be done. And, you know, there are deadlines and they have to be met, and it can't be just, you know, if I'm feeling like it or not feeling like it. It's, you know, I have to motivate myself however I can.
So more book
schedule like a book a year, or what is your?
Yeah,
what do you expect of yourself, basically?
I want to be doing a book a year right now.
Okay.
There was a time when I was really building my career. I was writing a book every 9 months, and I mean a big, fat book. They were, you know, 650, 750 pages.
Oh, wow.
Huge books. And I was working and turning a book out every 9 months, which was just exhausting, just really exhausting. But I needed to do that at the time to, you know, to build my name and to get to a place where a book a year was a good, you know, a good schedule. And then, you know, sometimes life gets in the way, and you know, things happen, and you know, there was a while there I was doing a book every 18 months just because of, you know, like I broke my back, you know, or I got divorced or something, like, you know, stuff like that. Sure. It isn't going to wait for a convenient time to happen. But yeah, I'm now back on a book a year schedule.
Well, so I have to ask at this point, a book a year, what are your goals? What are your ambitions left as an author, Tami?
Well, you know, it's always to write a better book than the last book that I wrote. You know, I mean, you're only as good as your last title. You know, I continue to want to stretch and grow as an author, to explore different things through my writing. I've never been really a formula type writer. I always want to try new things, different things. You know, try to you know, get more in depth in the psychology of the characters and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking of, you know, different ways to approach a whodunit type of a story, you know, so that every book is fresh. And, you know, everybody always asks me, do I write from an outline? And I do not write from an outline. I don't know. I may have an idea when I sit down to write a book what's going to happen and who the bad guy is and all of that, but it almost always changes because I don't commit to an outline. I just, you know, if I were to write an outline, then I would, you know, for myself, all the fun would be gone. All the spontaneity is gone. I already know what's going to happen. Why should I write this book? I'm bored now, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's to keep things fresh and really surprising. And I always think, you know, if I'm surprised, the reader's going to be surprised. And, you know, just to keep on in that vein is what I want to do.
Well, clearly very successfully, and this new book, Deeper Than the Dead, will be out in time for Christmas, so lots of opportunity there
actually
to...
just after. It'll
just
be the
after
29th.
Oh, will it? Oh, well, I read the 19th, so we're not quite done on original schedule then, so just after Christmas.
Right. Yeah, they want all those people who get their lovely Barnes & Noble gift cards, to run straight to the store and buy Deeper Than the Dead. So.
Well, that's a good publisher's marketing tool right there.
Yes.
Well, we want to wish you the very best of luck with that one and with future titles, and not least of all, good luck in the dressage arena. I'm sure we'll see lots of more of you there, Tami, and it's been really a joy talking to you on the Dressage Radio Show. I hope you'll come back again.
Oh, I'll be happy to. This was great fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much indeed for your time, and a very happy holidays to you.
And to you.
It was a real pleasure, Tami. Look forward to seeing you out there in the arena.
Well, that was a fun conversation, Lisa, wasn't it? Great to hear, the inside track.
She is fantastic, and what a personality. I think, as you had mentioned earlier, all these different experiences, you can definitely hear that. And good for her that she's been able to maintain the best of both worlds.
She really has, and so many titles to her name. As we mentioned, there, Deeper Than the Dead is the very latest one, but there's The Alibi Man, Kill the Man, Dark Horse, Dust to Dust, and the list goes on. And we will put a link on our website to Tami's so that you can check out all the other titles that she has written. And we want to thank Tami again for being our guest this evening. Well, Lisa, before we get into our discussion, topic of discussion this week, I just wanted to say, we mentioned the Succeed USET Gala event, of course, that we were both at last weekend, and I was very fortunate to be MC for that event. And at one point during the evening, this very nice lady came up and caught my attention. And so I want to give a shout out to Eileen, who clearly is a fan of the show. She tells me how she listens regularly, enjoys all the different segments that we have. So again, thank you for stopping by and saying hello, Eileen. And I hope you'll write in if you have any comments or questions about the show. We'd always love to hear from you. And, it's always nice to hear from our listeners and actually meet them face to face, Lisa, because when you're doing radio, you don't get to see who you're talking to.
No, and I love it when the listeners come up and let us know that we're doing something positive for them.
Exactly.
I think we all
yes.
are very passionate about what we're discussing, and it's nice to know that these topics are being appreciated. I'm glad. That's exciting.
That's exactly right. Well, thanks again, Eileen. Well, I hope you enjoy these next topics. We're going to be talking, Lisa, about something that you feel strongly about, but riding off the track and using that quarter line.
Correct, because basically the topic for discussion is honest outside aids. Honest outside aids. And in order for us to have honest outside aids, we need to get off the wall. And how many, or the fence, or whatever it is we have out there, how many of us just go around that arena on the wall and have no idea if we have an outside rein or not until somebody says, okay, half pass. And you realize how little you have exercised half halts or any type of throughness half halting because you simply let the horse lean on the wall. So when I look around in a working arena and I see people hugging that wall, I know where those problems are going to arise. The minute we want to hit a center line, the minute we need to set up a shoulder in, we don't have our outside reins. And so what I have found, if I do never allow myself to be on the track, I can stay very focused and very concentrated. I know the instant I lose that outside shoulder. I know the instant I lose the connection to that outside rein. And then it's not riding what I call lost for several minutes and then realizing it after I'm requiring my horse to do a circle or leave the wall into a half pass or try to even set up a shoulder for or a shoulder in. And so I really stay honest with yourself about your outside aids. Make sure your aids are that horse's wall on the outside, not that. And I have found horses find walls to be very very much like magnets. They're drawn to them.
You know what
You
this...
had this before, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where
You know what...
just finally feel like, ho, 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 I am stuck to the wall here.
And, obviously that wall is there when you're in an indoor arena, so it's more of an anchor and more of, a pillar that you're drawn to than obviously if you were outdoors. But still, if you have a fence or something that's high, it gives you even more of as you call it, a magnet. You know what it makes me think of, Lisa? I'm a very, very moderate swimmer. And so when I get into a swimming pool, I prefer to go down the side of the wall. So I feel like, that's just kind of my security.
It's
that
something to balance on, make sure that...
Yeah,
that you're
exactly.
there.
Exactly.
You're close.
And if I go away from the wall, or if I'm, don't have any guide for my line, I can't guarantee I could swim in a straight line.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of mentality, and certainly if I'm swimming the backstroke, there is no chance of me going straight if I'm not against the wall.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
Don't backstroke the wall.
So I think, by having that wall, if it's an indoor arena, or a fence if you're outdoors, if you take that away, you are out there. And, it's like riding, eventers will ride in, or jumpers might ride in a field, if it, and try and go in a straight line in the field. I think with dressage riders, so often, as you say, we don't get off that track and learn an independent line.
It dawned on me this last weekend at a horse show when I see so many riders get lost without a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And by riding a quarter line, you learn to be able to draw an imaginary line. I make sure I have a straight line. I look at a point in the distance down the long side that I want to ride to. So it's not just drifting somewhere away from the wall. That helps no one either. That you really draw these imaginary lines and you follow them. And then you can take that out to a field and you're not lost. You're able to draw lines for yourself and keep yourself, you keep your horse and yourself focused and on track.
Focused and on track. And it makes me wonder, do you notice when riders are riding towards a mirror in an indoor arena, Lisa, if that gives them something of a distraction, that they're maybe so busy looking at their own riding position that they are not being honest with their outside aids as much as they're so focused on what they look like. Does that a distraction sometimes?
You do have to learn how to use a mirror.
Mm.
And as Ernst would say, it's not to check your makeup.
Yes, exactly.
Your hair is fine. But the point is that you do have to learn to be able to look in the mirror, see the position of the horse. I do encourage my riders to look in the mirror, to look at their seat. Look at your hands. Now look at the position of the horse. You're riding the horse toward. Look, is that shoulder fore?
Mm-hmm.
Are those two outside legs aligned? Is the one inside stepping in between the two fronts? Look at the positioning. Look at how you're positioning your horse. Look at the flexion. Look at the height of the pole. Look at the open. I really encourage them to analyze what they're creating. I want them to see what they're creating, because also some people work with their heads in the sand. They have no idea, and they're just pulling, and the horse is basically very round behind the vertical, and they don't realize it. They don't have an appreciation for the feel of what they're doing. So if they look in the mirror, they can apply the mirror visual and learn the feel for where that horse is positioned.
That's a good tip. And I think what it is also a useful tip, a useful aid, Lisa, when you're riding in a straight line, whether you're going down the track or down the quarter line, is to get someone with a camera behind you and filming you going away in that line, so you can see what that looks like from behind and see how straight you thought you were.
Exactly.
So also a useful tip to use a video camera. But Well, I think that's a good advice. Good advice, and hopefully our listeners will practice that, riding off the track and getting onto that quarter line and learning an independent line and ride straighter than I can swim. That's the message.
Yes, absolutely. Imaginary lines. We like that. That'll help you ride in fields.
Yes, exactly. All right, Lisa. Well, we're just about running out of time this week, and I want to remind our listeners that next week we're going to have a Christmas holiday special, which will be a show that we're using on all the shows here at the Horse Radio Network, on the Eventing Radio Show, the Stable Scoop Show, and the 2010 Radio Show. So look forward to that next week, our Christmas holiday special. Of course, as always, you can follow our show notes at dressageradio.com. Or send us your feedback by leaving a voicemail at 270-803-0025 or by emailing me at chris@horseradionetwork.com. And if you have any questions or comments for Lisa, please send those over to me and I'll make sure Lisa gets them. Don't forget that you can check out our fan page on Facebook where you can leave any comments, and there's also of course, a link to the page on our website. We're also on Twitter at Horse Radio, or you can follow me at Chris E. Stafford. And as always, we would like to thank our generous sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products. They can be found at kppusa.com. Well, Lisa, it was always fun to have you on the show. We appreciate it. And I guess we won't see you back here till after Christmas. So what are you going to be doing?
Goodness.
What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be working?
Well, both. I'm going over to San Francisco, teach a clinic 3 days, and then I'm going to fly right down to Malibu and spend Christmas with Cass's family. Looking forward. We might even hit the ski slopes.
Oh, how wonderful. That sounds
I'll
like...
watch. I'll watch. Save the legs and the hands and the wrists and the whole 9 yards. But looking forward to it. Get a few days off. How about yourself? What are you going to do? I'm going to be here in Kentucky, and I can't wander too far away because of the radio shows. So, I'm going to have a pretty quiet Christmas. And what I do for fun, bit of downtime when I have any downtime, if I'm not at a competition at a weekend, is I paint. I paint a bit for fun. So that's my relaxation. So I'm going to be I'm trying to do a bit of that and just chilling out for a while. So looking forward to that. Well, Lisa, it's been fun as ever. We'll see you on the other side of the holidays, I guess, and you'll be able to tell us how your Christmas went. And so have a wonderful Christmas holiday from all of us here at the Dressage Radio Show. And until we meet again next time, Lisa. Good luck, everyone, and enjoy your riding.